For nearly 2 years now, fans have known just two very interesting details about The Weeknd's upcoming 6th studio album. Number one, the record will be the final installment of a brand new trilogy in Abel's career, coinciding with the story on After Hours and Dawn FM, and also that the project will be the last album released by Abel under the Weeknd moniker. Because of those details, a lot of people have been anxiously waiting on the edge of their seat, very excited to hear what this record is going to sound like, and after a long wait, it seems as if finally Abel is preparing to release this final Weeknd album. Since 2022's Dawn FM, Abel has kept himself very busy over the past few years, touring all over the world and starring in his own HBO Max series, The Idol. Music was released for the show, but it wasn't on the level of Abel's studio album work. Nothing is like The Weeknd in album mode, and because of that, fans are extremely excited to hear the final chapter of The Weeknd's story. The first two albums of the new trilogy, After Hours and Dawn FM, told a story of tragic heartbreak leading to purgatory and self-reflection. This project should finish that story, with Abel making an attempt to free himself through rebirth and enter the afterlife. Narrative and concept aside, we have some insight as to who may be working on this album with Abel, potential collaborators, as well as a rumor regarding a single that may be dropping sometime very soon. So without wasting any more time, let's get into what we know about The Weeknd's upcoming and final studio album. As touched on in the intro, Abel would inform fans that we're in the midst of a brand new trilogy just a few days after releasing Dawn FM in January of 2022. Taking to Twitter, Abel would say, "I wonder, did you know you're experiencing a new trilogy?" Trilogy is the umbrella name for the projects that truly put Abel on the map as an artist. At the start of his career, he dropped 3 mixtapes all in the same year, online only, and then when he signed with Republic Records in 2012, they were all re-released as one big compilation album called Trilogy. So with that tweet, Abel is essentially saying that After Hours, Dawn FM, and this upcoming album all tell one big story and are conceptually linked together, just like House of Balloons, Thursday, and Echoes of Silence. This also means that the Weeknd story both begins with a trilogy and ends with a trilogy, as Abel has been quoted to say that this upcoming 6th studio album will be his last released under the Weeknd name. Abel told W Magazine back in May of 2023, "I'm going through a cathartic path right now. It's getting to a place and a time where I'm getting ready to close the Weeknd chapter. I'll still make music, maybe as Abel, maybe as The Weeknd, but I still want to kill The Weeknd. And I will, eventually. I'm definitely trying to shed that skin and be reborn. The album I'm working on now is probably my last hurrah as The Weeknd. This is something that I have to do. As The Weeknd, I've said everything I can say." Abel just isn't the same person who put out Trilogy anymore. It's been 13 years since the OG mixtapes dropped, and I think he really wants to step away from that druggy bad boy persona because it doesn't reflect him both as an artist or as a person anymore. However, I am personally not a fan of the name change. Number one, child of divorce, so not really good with change. No, but seriously, the Weeknd name, aside from it being so iconic at this point with his discography, it is such a unique and awesome moniker for an artist. Like, think about it this way. Oh, Taylor Swift's coming to town. The Weeknd is coming to town Saturday. It's like, oh fuck, what's this guy about? I do understand where he is coming from regarding the change though, and ultimately as a fan, I respect whatever decision Abel comes to regarding the name. Especially as someone who's really deep on all the new trilogy lore, the story told on After Hours and Dawn FM so far, because if you're gonna go ahead and get rid of the name that you've gone under for 10 plus years now, this whole killing the Weeknd rebirth story, it's a very beautiful and graceful way to do that. What's crazy is that we learned those two major details super far out from this 6th studio album even being remotely ready to be released. After dropping Dawn FM in 2022, The Idol kept Abel pretty busy for most of 2023, releasing some covers and brand new tracks to coincide with the show's debut season. Abel also would do a whole lot of touring post Dawn FM in 2022, from both an After Hours Till Dawn North American tour and a world tour. But finally, with all the tour dates behind us, we were getting close to album time. Abel's first tease of a brand new album would come on January 7th, 2024, when he would take to Instagram to post 3 pictures, one being the After Hours album cover, the other being the Dawn FM cover art, and then a blank box with a question mark in it, once again reminding fans about this new trilogy concept with the caption 3. The following month in February, Abel would apparently rent out a vintage theater in LA for his birthday, showing old home videos of himself as a child on the stage and having pictures of young Abel set up as decor in the lobby. This is likely for a music video, but time will tell. Come March, fans would get their first taste of what this new Weeknd era may potentially sound like, as Abel would randomly show up at Mike Dean's concert at the Wiltern in Los Angeles. Before we get into the performance, for those who don't know, Mike Dean is basically like Abel's new right-hand man when it comes to producing and just working on tracks in general. He's worked with Kanye West, Travis Scott, Madonna, and many more talented artists, but after opening for Abel on the After Hours Till Dawn tour in 2022, the two have formed a pretty strong connection, both inside the studio and out. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that Mike Dean is going to be very influential over the sound of this upcoming album, with the 2 previous records in the trilogy, After Hours and Dawn FM, already possessing a kind of electronic synth sound. The synth god's going to take this shit to a whole new level. At the Wiltern, Abel and Mike would perform 2 songs, one of which being a cover of the track In Heaven from the movie Eraserhead, and the other being Take Me Back to LA, a song that fans have actually known about since 2020 when Abel first played it on an Instagram Live. That's right, 4 years ago, he first told fans about this track, and I'm hoping that very soon we get to hear it in high studio quality. This song, to me anyway, sounds fucking amazing, and it's going platinum in my local files. I listen to the recording all the time, but it's all about Abel reflecting on the good times in a bad relationship. He's fighting between his heart and his mind because he knows in his mind that this girl's not good for him, but in his heart he still longs for her. While he hates being alone and he wants to go back to when life seemed beautiful with this girl, he eventually comes to the conclusion that after all is said and done, it's better that he's alone. It's better that he's by himself. There are currently a lot of rumors going around about this track being the lead single for this upcoming and final Weeknd album. And with Abel performing it here, if it's not dropped as a single, I'd be very surprised if it didn't end up on the album. Now, as for the other track played at this show, In Heaven, I honestly don't think this cover is going to end up on the official album. It more or less seems like something Abel and Mike Dean decided to do for funsies at this show, because they seem like 2 big fucking movie buffs, and whenever they're together in the studio, they fucking get together and they post on their Instagram stories about their favorite sci-fi movie soundtracks. Maybe they just watched fucking Eraserhead the night before and were like, we're doing this for our boy David Lynch. But I don't think this is going to be on the official album. I do recommend, I think if you're a fan of The Weeknd, you're going to want to hear this, so check it out. Mike Dean's backing vocals are fucking, they're sick as fuck. We're going to go ahead and transition from speaking about Mike Dean to another producer who we now have confirmation will have some work, some touch on The Weeknd's final studio album, that being Metro Boomin. Metro would do an interview with Spotify's Rap Caviar back in May, and he would say this.
Songs we did with Weeknd, frequent collaborator of mine. You know, that's family. You know, me and him working on a lot of stuff. You know, we cooking up for his new album. You know, a lot of people gonna be real pleased and even more happy.
Abel and Metro have a pretty good track record when working on tracks together. Their chemistry is pretty great, especially Abel even just earlier this year having those awesome features off of Metro's last 2 albums with Future. So I'm very much looking forward to what they have cooked up for us here with The Weeknd's final studio album. I know he's not retiring, but it's his last album as The Weeknd. This is a big fucking deal. Abel definitely holds that mindset as well, because aside from the Instagram post in January, the appearance at the Mike Dean show 2 months later in March, and his features off the Metro and Future albums earlier this year, he's been pretty much MIA for the entire 6 months of 2024, half the year, which leads me to believe that he has been hard at work in the studio, focusing on perfecting this project. In June, we would get our first look into this upcoming album's concept, as Abel did this pretty interesting interview with this fashion company called Sense. They'd use AI so that Abel could essentially interview his 10-year-old self. Like I said, the whole thing was done through artificial intelligence, and that certainly lines up with the sci-fi vibe that Abel has been on really since dropping Dawn FM. This whole thing was advertised as The Weeknd Interviews Abel Tesfaye, with Abel using the tagline, "Reanimating the Inner Child." The whole thing was done just for fun mostly, but it definitely previews some of the concepts and energy that will likely be seen in the lyrics of this new album. Keep in mind that idea of tapping into the younger self. About 2 weeks after that interview dropped, Abel would go ahead and post a short video on Instagram, which appeared to be a close-up shot of him as a child. Now, this same frame was actually seen a few weeks back through Apple. They were announcing like some service or something that I guess The Weeknd's partnering with them on, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that The Weeknd actually posted this for fans to see, there's definitely something coming soon. He would post another frame from whatever music video or short film these shots are from, with a little baby or something. It looks like it's like in the forest or something. I don't really know what it is, but it looks a lot like this figure Abel posted back in June. This all seems pretty confusing without any context, but looking back on the storyline of After Hours and the narrative of Dawn FM, I kind of think I have a little blanket idea of what this upcoming project narrative is all about, especially concerning young Abel. In Dawn FM, Abel found himself in a purgatory-like state after dying from heartbreak and overdose on After Hours. With this third album, I think, in order to leave purgatory and enter the great beyond, heaven, nirvana, whatever you want to call it, Abel must find his inner self and connect with his inner child, the state he was last innocent in before living a life of partying, drugs, and sex, described in his early musical content, all in an effort to be truly reborn. That theory is also backed up by what Abel would post on July 7th, as he would once again take to Instagram, this time posting a picture of St. Paul and quoting this from scripture in the caption. "The present humanity is frail, deteriorating, and weak, but to share eternal life, the bodies must be transformed." Abel seems to be really heavy on this theme of rebirth. It seems like it's going to be the main concept of this upcoming album, so it'll definitely be something to keep in mind on the first listen whenever that blessed fucking day comes. I can't wait. But with that, we are pretty much caught all up to date with all of the news and rumors surrounding The Weeknd's upcoming final album. This will be the final chapter of The Weeknd's story, and Abel clearly has a grand vision and a narrative not to tell at this point, but to finish. I absolutely cannot wait to hear what he has in store for us, not only just for the music, but also for the concept as a whole at this point. Details honestly have been pretty tight. We don't know too much about this upcoming album just yet, but with Abel being more and more active on Instagram, especially that post of him as a kid that looks like it's from a music video or something, I definitely think this rollout will be starting very, very soon, with hopefully a single on the way. Pop Insider on Twitter, who has been reliable in the past for artist news and rumors, stated that everything is ready for The Weeknd next month back in June. So Abel is allegedly gonna do something, or was planning to do something, this month in July back in June. We'll see what ends up happening. It's not 100% confirmed. That account has been reliable in the past though, and accurate, and it definitely beats the 933 posts relating to some sort of release date conspiracy theories that we were doing like a week ago. But really, that's all I got regarding this upcoming Weeknd album. If you want to go ahead and follow me on socials, you can find me on Twitter at digitalxdwnld, and Instagram, just Casey Colkin. As more details emerge, if the rollout gets crazy, I'll definitely do another Weeknd update video for the 6th studio album. And I'm also coming at you next with an ASAP Rocky video detailing all the information on what we can expect from his upcoming album coming out this month on the 30th. But I've done enough talking for today. Appreciate you guys watching, and I will see ya in the next one.